Continuing with you, Dr. Murdoch, making AI systems safer is not only a matter of regulations, but also requires technical advances in making the systems more reliable, transparent, and trustworthy. It seems to me that the United States would be more likely than China to invest in these research areas given our democratic values. So, Doctor, can you compare or expand on your comments earlier? Can you compare how the Chinese Communist Party and the United States political values influence their research and development priorities for AI systems?
Sure. I think that the large language models, which is the obsession right now of a lot of the AI systems, provides a very interesting example of this. China is very concerned about how it can destabilize their societal structure by having a system that they can't control and might say things that would be offensive about, it might bring up the Tiananmen Square or might associate the president with Winnie the Pooh or something, and that could be very destructive to their way of their societal control. Because of this, they're really limiting control. They're passing regulations and laws that are very constraining of how that's doing. So that is a difference between our societies and how what we view as acceptable. I do think the military control, the command and control emphasis, as well as the desire to maintain control through mass surveillance, if you look at their research portfolio, most of where they're leading could be very well associated with those types of areas. So I think those are differences that are pretty significant. We can go on, but I'm going to just pause there to make sure other people have opportunity.
Absolutely. Dr. Matheny, some advocated for a broad approach to AI regulations, such as restricting entire categories of AI systems. In the United States, many agencies already have the existing authorities to regulate the user cases of AI in their jurisdiction. For example, the Department of Transportation can set performance benchmarks that autonomous vehicles must meet to drive on U.S. roads. What are your opinions regarding outcomes of user case-driven approach to AI regulation versus an approach that places broad restrictions on AI development or deployment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that in many of the cases that we're most concerned about related to risks of AI systems, especially these large foundation models, we may not know enough in advance to specify the use cases. And those are ones then where the kind of testing and red teaming that's been described here is really essential. So having terms and conditions in federal contracts with compute providers actually might be one of the highest leverage points of governance, is that we could require that, that models trained on infrastructure that is currently federally contracted involve red teaming and other evaluation before models are trained or deployed.
Mr. DeLong, in my opening statement, I highlighted the importance of ensuring that we continue to lead in AI research and development because American-built systems are more likely to reflect democratic values. Given how critical it is to ensure we maintain our leadership in AI, how do you recommend Congress ensure that we do not pass regulations that stifle innovation?
I think a good point that you made earlier is that AI is so broad and the impact of AI could be so widespread across use cases, domains, sectors, leads to the point that for regulation to be effective and not stifle innovation at scale, you need it to be customized and focused on specific domains, use cases, and sectors where there are more risks, and then kind of like empower the whole ecosystem to keep growing and keep innovating. The parallel that I like to draw is with software, right? It's such kind of like a broad applicable technology that the important thing is to regulate the final use cases and the specific domains of application of software rather than software in general.
In my remaining moments, Dr. Farsi, advances in civilian AI, civilian R&D often help progress defense technologies and enhance national security. How have civilian R&D efforts in AI transformed in advances in defense applications? And how do you anticipate that relationship evolving over the next few years?
I expect that relationship to evolve in a positive way. I expect there to be a further strengthening of the relationship between the private sector and dual use and government targeted products. Thanks to the open source, there are many technologies that otherwise would have not been available, or would have had to be reinvented, are now made available to build on top of. The venture capital community is very excited about funding companies that have dual-use products and companies that sell to the U.S. government. Palantir was an example where investors profited greatly from investing in a company that was targeting the U.S. government as a customer. Same with SpaceX. And so it's my expectation that this trend will continue, that more private dollars will go into funding companies that are selling into the U.S. government and leveraging technologies that come out of the open source to build on top of to continue innovating in the sector.
Thank you. My time has expired, and I recognize the ranking member, Ms. Lofgren.